Hurricane Dorian has made it to the coast of the United States, and this evening the storm is spinning its way along the shores of Florida. There's also a quiet emptiness moving ahead of it.
Evacuations span from Georgia to the Outer Banks. Our team coverage includes Catherine Brown in Savannah and Adam Owens in Nags Head, where a bride is packing up a day before she was supposed to say, "I do." Hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm David Crabtree. First, let's go to our meteorologists, Mike Mays and Kat Campbell, for a look at the storm. Mike, the Hurricane Center just updated its outlook. What did they say?
Well, they've said the forward motion is increasing. We've also seen a change in the hurricane watch and warnings that Kat's going to outline in just a moment. Right now, top wind's still at 110, but the movement has, forward motion has increased from 5 miles per hour to 6 miles per hour to the north and west. So we're tracking Dorian, and we have not seen with this new update any change in intensity. By the time we get to tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, top 110. It continues to move to the northwest, but at some point during the evening tomorrow, it will be a northward movement, and then sometime during the day on Thursday, it will begin to move to the northeast. Now, all the forecasts that we've seen, tropical model plots, the forecast fan from the Hurricane Center has been very consistent, and at this point, we don't really expect much deviation from what we've been looking at. So by 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon, winds are down to 105. The forecast fan as far inland as just to the north and west of the Charleston area, continuing to move to the north and east. The forecast line may be a little bit farther to the north and west, maybe making landfall now at Cape Fear, making its way to Cape Lookout, over Cape Hatteras, and moving to the north and east. Now, with this little adjustment to the north and west, that could mean greater impacts farther inland for us down the road. The forecast fan has been fairly consistent, again, as far to the west as the I-95 corridor and then down east toward the coast. So it's anywhere in this vicinity it could track, but it's been fairly consistent, the line we've seen from the National Hurricane Center. And a look at futurecast showing the advancement of the storm as we go through time, paralleling the Florida coast. That has certainly not changed. There's 8 a.m. tomorrow morning location off the coast of Jacksonville in the evening, and then continuing to move to the north and east. We'll start to have rainfall impacts in the morning on Thursday. The winds will increase. Right now, it looks like the heaviest rainfall will be along and east of I-95, and again, perhaps making landfall at Cape Fear, Cape Lookout, Cape Hatteras, and then continuing to move to the north and east. Now, Kat Campbell's here to talk more about the changes in the hurricane watches and warnings. Kat?
Right. These just came out with the 5 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. And parts of the southern coast of North Carolina are now under a hurricane warning. This does include New Hanover County, so Wilmington is included in this. Here locally, parts of our viewing area are under a tropical storm watch. In yellow, that means that we will likely see tropical storm force winds just southeast of the triangle, as well as heavy rain. In pink, there's also a hurricane watch for parts of the coast that are not yet under that hurricane warning. The latest on the Dorian impacts across the triangle and points to the northwest. We are expecting 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. We could see some hurricane force wind gusts here, even though you're not in the tropical storm watch right now. Just southeast of the triangle, that is where tropical storm force winds are likely. That would mean winds over 39 miles per hour, potentially gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Heavy rain in the forecast for areas in red there, with 4 to 6 inches of rain expected. Along the coast, that's where the more severe conditions will be. Hurricane force winds over 75 miles per hour. 5 to 10 inches of rain is in the forecast, but we could see some isolated totals up to 15 inches. And we are also forecasting 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. And with the latest update we got in, we did get word that there is now a storm surge warning in effect for parts of the coast. Coming up in the full forecast, we're going to have a closer look at the timeline and the town-by-town forecast for wind gusts across the area.
So much to keep an eye on. Thank you, Kat.
Evacuations are underway along the Outer Banks while the sun is shining now, and it is beautiful there now. This area could become one of the hardest hit in the country. The governor gave the evacuation order earlier today. Adam Owens joins us from Nags Head, where some are making the difficult decision to leave.
Dorian is still days away from the Outer Banks, but still visitors have been told they need to leave. Obviously, some of them have decided to stay, but for one woman, it meant saying goodbye before she could say, "I do." For more than 2 years, Devin Shields dreamed of a wedding on the sand. A day before the big day, her family is forced to leave.
You know, we had a caterer lined up, justice of the peace, makeup, hair, all that stuff.
Drew Shields is the father of the bride.
We got the notice and then we had to cancel.
What is the plan now?
We're heading home. We're going back to Philadelphia, and we're going to figure it out and try and get married up by the weekend.
They're getting boarded up at the Seafoam Motel in Nags Head.
Well, the occupancy obviously goes down because everybody has to get out of here and try to get ahead of the traffic.
Tracy Zimmerman, the manager, plans to stay, though, and some visitors are also hanging around, hoping this will all soon blow over.
But hopefully most people will rebook and come back next week after everything clears out.
Clearly, some visitors have decided to stay behind. A lot of residents we've talked with say they will stay here as well. They hope that Dorian will calm down and turn away before that storm can get here. Adam Owens, WREL News on the Outer Banks.
And as Adam mentioned, evacuation orders are now in effect for visitors in Dare County. The orders for residents to leave begin tomorrow morning. Classes are canceled for Dare County schools for the rest of the week.
So beautiful there right now. New Hanover County along the coast is setting up shelters in advance of Hurricane Dorian's arrival. Classes there are canceled for the rest of the week. This morning, Governor Cooper visited the Wilmington area, pledging the state's full support. Anyone who needs help can call the New Hanover Emergency Public Information Line. We have that number on WREL.com.
And the WREL News team is spreading out along the coast ahead of landfall. Catherine Brown is in Savannah, and our live storm tracker. That part of the Georgia coast is expecting to see heavy rain and strong winds move in by tomorrow. For now, there's been a lot of sunshine and quiet streets. Catherine, you grew up in Georgia. You know that area very well. How unsettling is all of this for you?
You know, David, it is a very eerie feeling. As you mentioned, I grew up near here. I vacationed here a lot. I have never seen it like it is now. It is just quiet, silent, eerie. This is River Street, and there's just not a soul here. Beautiful weather today, though. We know what's coming. I want to show you the HD Doppler network here. And as Mike and Kat were talking about, they were showing Dorian's track. This is where we are, Savannah, not expected to take a direct hit. Nonetheless, people here are preparing for hurricane force winds, tropical storm force winds, and certainly a storm surge. This is the morning paper. Officials urging evacuation, letting people know that if they do not evacuate, they'll be on their own when this storm hits. Along River Street, many businesses have sandbags. They're boarded up. This extends inland as well. We ran into a woman this afternoon who grew up in Raleigh. She moved to Savannah a few years ago. She's evacuated for the 2 previous storms, but she's planning to stay this time. She has a generator, a lot of supplies. She is, however, very concerned about her relatives who live in North Carolina, particularly in Wilmington. And she tells me they're waiting to see what happens here before deciding whether they leave town there.
It's just so close. So believing that projection is going to turn east, go back out to the ocean, it's hard to even believe that we could come that close to catastrophe and miss it.
It's really unsettling for a lot of people. These are some of the sandbags and the boards that I was talking about. This one says every cloud has a silver lining, and you see these boards painted for a lot of storms. These particular ones look like they've been used for a number of hurricanes. You can see Chase, Amanda, Matthew, Irma, Jose, and then right here, Hurricane Dorian 2019 here is hoping that this just blows by. We've seen the winds pick up in about the past 45 minutes or so. Very much a watch, wait, and worry game here in Savannah.
Yeah, and Catherine, it can be so frustrating when you need to leave and you don't want to leave. Do you sense frustration and people just saying enough is enough?
Absolutely. A lot of people are frustrated. David, a lot of people have left town. I've covered a number of storms, and we always see, typically, I would say, we see a lot of the residents hanging tight. This storm, we've encountered maybe a few business owners, but for the most part, people are bugging out. They're saying, we're not going to deal with this. We're not going to take chances. We're out of here.
Okay, Catherine, stay safe. Catherine Brown live in Savannah. And stay with us as we track Hurricane Dorian's every move. We're sending more than 20 people to the coast to cover the storm over the next few days. That includes the live storm tracker and fleet of breaking news trackers. We also have teams in place to keep an eye on conditions across the viewing area. Stay with us for live team coverage before, during, and after the storm, bringing you all the information you need.
Before turning north, the horrifying Hurricane Dorian battered the Bahamas. Now the hurricane is starting to track along the Florida coast. Jamie Gergola reports on the damage.
More heartbreaking images from the Bahamas, where the magnitude of devastation continues to grow. This is dramatic video of a journalist and his family abandoning their home, escaping by wading through water chest high, carrying their dogs. It's the story of thousands of other victims, at least 13,000 homes severely damaged or destroyed.
This is the water by my back door and glass.
Hurricane Dorian parked over the islands for a day and a half, but the U.S. Coast Guard raced to the Bahamas, providing relief, rescue, and humanitarian aid.
It's as if we're fighting a war with the enemy having all the weapons at its disposal, and we have absolutely nothing. We're hopeless.
Dorian has since lost strength and is finally moving away from the Bahamas. Now the hurricane aiming toward the U.S., appearing to spare Florida. But the governor and other officials telling residents to stay alert.
While we think this is a much better track than what we were looking at 72 hours ago, we just ask people to stay safe, remain vigilant.
Don't assume anything, because it only takes a movement here or a movement there, and we're back into the hurricane force winds.
Up the East Coast into Savannah, people are still preparing for the worst, with long lines of evacuees looking for shelter. North Carolina's coastline also bracing for impact, boarding up, packing up, and getting out. In Pompano Beach, Florida, Jamie Gergola, NBC News.
Already, some Floridians are getting back to their normal routines. Stores and airports are reopening, and some schools will get back to class tomorrow.
And coming up this afternoon.
You see an alligator swimming down your street or sitting in your pool? It ain't one of ours.
As if the wind and rain weren't enough to worry about, we'll see how a wildlife attraction plans to keep its 2,000 alligators from escaping.
And more than 1 million North Carolinians may have to wait on their health care. See why Medicaid changes are on hold.